into two groups where there will be people like myself, and it'll probably be a little generational too, but there will be people like myself who refuse to use AI and will consistently try to use their own brain for critical thinking. And then the overwhelming majority of the population that actually does use AI for critical thinking, as they basically smooth out what remains of their tiny brains. What is this? She's truly a
good portion, if not a majority, of college students are regularly using ChatGPT to do their work. And I'm going to let you sniff my hand and know that I'm not an enemy and that I'm not saying this to incriminate you. You are paying money for a company to give you software that is using the resources you and your parents have taken out loans to pay for to educate an AI model to replace you entirely when you graduate. So when the recession hit in 2008, millennials got f***ed over because the workforce that had all this experience that they were meant to replace was pushed out of their jobs. And now the bar for an entry-level position was raised, and you had to have the experience of a Gen Xer who had been in the workforce for 10 years to get an entry-level job. Millennials couldn't get jobs anymore. And that's where we got that whole stereotype about millennials with a 4-year degree working in coffee shops. Okay, so when you graduate now, there's not even going to be a job to not be able to get, because the AI that you were tricked into training will have replaced it, and you will have no actual education. You will not know what you're talking about, and that computer will be smarter. You'll have paid a subscription fee to allow it to do that. You are a victim along with the entire rest of the world in that system. And if you don't believe me, look at where the tech gurus of like 10, 15 years ago are now, because 3 of them were in suits as guests at Trump's inauguration. Okay? They are never on your side, and they are actively seeking to destroy your future.
100%. This is another angle that is devastating. But I think the scariest aspect of this is, one, the lack of interest from people, because people are efficient. Okay, people have a predisposition a tendency towards efficiency. Okay, and in that endless efficiency seeking, we take shortcuts all the time because it's easier. And some of those shortcuts do lead to life-changing technological innovation, for sure. Right? I'm not going to discount the reality that phones and endless internet access is a bad thing. It's a good thing. It has revolutionized humanity. It has been incredibly consequential for both good reasons and also bad reasons as well. Right? But this, in and of itself, as I talked about with the comparison of like going to the library and reading Encyclopedia Britannica, as opposed to like being able to Google something, like, that is a technological leap that actually is helpful, okay? That gives you endless amounts of information. But if not done correctly, it can also lead to unverified, unsubstantiated misinformation. And the more people, the more there are people that are just simply looking for confirmation bias, which is also another very normal human condition, the more unsubstantiated, biased nonsense runs rampant, okay? We were already there before AI. Now add AI to the equation. A language model that has the capacity to offer you confirmation bias and what they call hallucinations. When the AI tells you what you want to hear, the AI makes an assessment of what you want to hear and then lies to you about that. The very fact that we're using this as a substitution for critical thinking is dangerous. There are certain things that are important to still retain. Okay, this is not like division of labor and how division of labor has increased efficiency in the point of production, and then in that process, people have like stopped learning certain skills and how devastating. That's not like this at all. This is something worse than that because it impacts every single human being. Yeah, there's also a American there's an American legislative issue here as well. The subtitle C, Communications, Artificial Intelligence, and Information Technology Modernization, in the 2025 Budget Reconciliation Bill, they want to enforce. They want to add a poison pill provision, or not even a poison pill provision, but a provision that stops any law or regulation regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems during the 10-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act. There's no going back. AI will be most people's critical thinking tool. I think society is going to be divided into two groups where there will be people like myself, and it'll probably be a little generational too, but there will be people like myself who refuse to use AI and will consistently try to use their own brain for critical thinking. And then the overwhelming majority of the population that actually does use AI for critical thinking, as they basically smooth out what remains of their tiny brains. Yeah, the number of people who appear to have delegated all their critical faculties to Grok is incredibly disturbing. Grok says it's old. I don't trust Grok or any other app, but good luck getting anyone else to be skeptical. A large chunk of Indian Twitter has got in his head that this Rafale debris photo is old. Setting aside authenticity, I can't vouch for that. It's not old. The evidence being cited below and elsewhere is a quirk of the search function. Clicking through the links would show you that. Rana Ayub is a fake news correspondent. But isn't Grok woke? No, reality is woke, okay? Reality is fucking woke. What people consider to be woke is just simply an accurate reflection of events. Make no mistake. And of course, if a LLM is trained on parsing and trained to be as accurate as possible, which of course is going to be its primary directive, even though it fails from time to time on reaching that goal, yes, it's going to be woke, but that doesn't mean you should blindly trust it. I don't blindly trust AI, but ChatGPT disagrees with you lots. That's not even true. What are you talking about? I hate AI. I don't trust it at all. And yet, if you look at my responses whenever they go ask Grok, like, show me if Hasan is being racist or whatever. Oh, you're saying ChatGPT is different. Yeah, you're right. I guess you're talking about ChatGPT. ChatGPT disagrees with you when you said Asmongold never goes outside. ChatGPT debunked that. Asmongold went outside at 4/10/2025. Brother, I know Asmongold has been outside. I'm fibbing. This is what I mean. Are you brain dead? Are we losing sight? Like, look, interactions slowly but surely moving away from I assume that person is joking. I have to assume that person is joking and not being like super autistic. I'm the one being autistic and not understanding that he's joking. But one thing I need to mention here again is that the importance of third spaces, the importance of being in the physical presence of other people for interpersonal communication, considering that man is inherently a social animal, okay, has been eviscerated by the fact that all of our social interactions, especially during the COVID shutdown period, for in the formative years for many young Zoomers, okay, Zoomers on the younger side and Generation Alpha, took place online. That already bricked the way people operate. That already caused permanent damage in ways that we don't even understand. Okay, that already ruined so many people's brains. But beyond that, now this is one step further. This is taking it one step further. To constantly use AI as a substitute for your brain is so much more damaging. Why do people so intensely or insanely defend AI? People defend AI because they use it. They don't want their tool to go away, and they don't want to second guess themselves when I tell them, just like I did during the peak of NFT season. Okay, what did I tell people all the time during the peak of NFT season? I said, NFTs are a scam. And a lot of people yelled at me for it. They were like, how dare you say this? You're just dumb. I'm going to get my bag, stupid. Right? And I'm warning you on the same shit. Hey, Hasan, I'm a physics PhD student, and I find AI really useful to help me understand complex papers and I think new ideas. Almost every PhD student at my uni uses it now. How do we balance its uses like this? And people use Grok to decide their opinion. Brother, what are you saying? You're a physics PhD student, and you literally just described the same thing that other people are doing. Read the paper, dude. What the do you mean? You're a goddamn physics PhD student. Read the paper. Don't let AI condense it. Oh my God. No, it's entirely the opposite of what I'm arguing. You're proving the point that I'm making. So fucking cooked. It's nuts to think your human brain can source information from an AI, bro. Lol. Wait, what? Are you? Oh, you're talking to the other guy. Yeah, we are letting a fucking machine. We're letting a machine take over incredibly important processes that our brain normally would take the place of. This is so fucking scary, dude. It's so scary. Literally what I wrote earlier, I feel like I'm the only dumbass in my uni who doesn't use ChatGPT. I'm losing my mind. I'll never fucking use it, but now I'm scared I won't get a grade as good as the people who do use AI. Dude, no, it's not, bro. Sometimes the way the paper is written is fucking stupid. Do you not see that you are betraying your own confidence? Like you are ruining your own confidence in your own skill. Then make up your own mind. Take it to another human being, a person that is more knowledgeable than you, like a professor, and say, hey, professor, have you read this paper? Can you take a look at this paper and tell me if this is stupid or not? I have a suspicion that it's stupid. Get the confirmation from a knowledgeable figure. Do not let a fucking machine take over that responsibility because you're so obsessed with efficiency. Redundancies are incredibly important for safety. It's important in this situation as well. Sometimes the slower path is the correct path because it's the safer path. Okay? I would rather take an entire day of labor over a 30-second AI summarization because I would rather make sure that I understood everything that I was reading myself and even confirm my biases if necessary from a responsible party, an independent third party that is even more knowledgeable than myself. That's what you're supposed to do. I can't believe I'm like going through the motions of how, like the motions of like how to do critical thinking. This is especially dangerous if we are substituting AI and AI summarization in the field of scientific discovery. If our fucking scientists are using a goddamn machine that has the capacity to lie, that has the capacity to feed you wrong outputs, depending on what your inputs are, we're fucking cooked. I don't hope your program kicks you up, but goddamn, I'd change paths if I were you. If your supervisors know this, they would not be happy, lol. Yeah, I'm scared, man. I mean, I don't want to be too rough on this chatter, who is obviously incredibly intelligent to be able to get into a physics PhD program. But goddamn, dude, that is dire. Like, one of the most valuable skills that you learn in college is unironically not the subject matter, but the process of critical thinking. You're training your brain to think critically. That's the entire purpose of college. It's to, one, get a taste of adulthood without any of the responsibilities that comes along with it in a diverse learning environment, okay, where you have freedom to pursue your own interests for the first time ever in a fucking walkable city, in a 15-minute city, okay? You get to socialize like a bunch of animals that have been released from the barn for the first time ever, while simultaneously you are engaging in the process of critical thinking, okay? You're experimenting with things. Maybe you're experimenting with your sexuality. Maybe you're experimenting with fucking drugs. That's fine. It's all a part of the human condition, okay? But most importantly, most significantly, it's not a matter of like learning the dense subject matter, even though obviously depending on which what your focus is, what your academic focus is, the subject matter is still very significant. Like, you know, if you're going to medical school or even if you're going to any sort of secondary master's program or graduate program or law school or whatever. But ultimately in the process, no matter what kind of fucking dumbass homosexual studies you're learning from, you're still learning the process of critical thinking in that experience. Okay, this is profoundly important. Oh, I unironically learned how to learn in college. That was the biggest thing I learned while there. College provided the structure with lots of freedom. Exactly. Oh, I studied history and don't use any historical knowledge in my job. I use the critical thinking skills, research skills, and writing skills I learned through the practice of engaging with history both at work and in everyday life. This week, I helped my girlfriend with her chemistry exam prep, and ChatGPT frequently returned wrong stuff, even though it was really basic chemistry. And one of the worst aspects of this is something that I point to quite frequently. Okay? One of the scariest parts about living in 2025 is the reality that if everyone is stupid, then you might as well be stupid too. Okay? If everyone believes in A, but the truth is B, and you believe in B, you might as well believe in A. Okay? Because at the end of the day, we are social beings. Okay? So we construct an alternative reality. So if everyone is fucking stupid and you're the one smart guy in a sea of stupids, you might as well be fucking stupid. You're cooked. And that's where we're getting towards. That's where we're heading towards. That's the whole point of like Twitter becoming this neo-Nazi infested space. I saw this this image of I forget who posted it. It's like everyone's pissing themselves in the fucking pool and pointing at the one person in the middle who isn't pissing themselves in the pool and laughing at the one person that's not pissing themselves in the pool. It's basically that. Yeah, idiocracy. Oh. It is physically painful to watch society gets less and less intelligent and more weird and evil and devoid of empathy by the day. At Grok, is society really getting less intelligent? Proving the fucking point that this person is making. Oh. Do you not think the real problem is the commodification of education and the fact that it's sold to us is the only avenue for social mobility? Like, it's not surprising that the students are cheating when the incentives for education are so far from learning. And I agree that using ChatGPT is worse than usual plagiarism, but it just seems like it's like this is not the real problem. No, it is a real problem because it's substituting your brain for a machine. Okay, that is a real problem in and of itself. But yes, the other thing that you're mentioning is far more consequential and a part of the reason why people are fucking over-reliant on AI too. Look, and then people will try to extend this to the stupidest. Yeah, then no more books. Only find the source and talk to people one-on-one. That's what you're saying. No books, no Wikipedia, no AI. It all makes you stupid. Back to philosophy in the town square is the only way to spread info. Did I say that? As a matter of fact, I actually showed you an alternative in terms of like how much. Okay, listen to me. I gave you this exact example. I said, obviously, being able to source scholarly journals at the tip of your fucking finger is far better than having to go to the goddamn library and open up a dusted ass book of Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay? I'm not devaluing technological improvements in this space. I'm simply telling you that there's a difference between something, information access becoming more efficient, even though there are obviously shortcomings with that as well, as I recognize, because there is also the capacity to flatten out fake information alongside real information. And a lot of people seemingly go towards the fake information, especially if it corresponds to their preconceived notions of reality, and then that has the capacity to make the fake information real. This is at the heart of the issue, even before AI, but AI greatly accelerates this while also simultaneously reducing your brain capacity. The act of going to the library as opposed to getting this information online from a reliable resource is probably a little bit better for you overall, because in the act of going to the library, you're reacting to stimuli in the real world, you're interacting with other human beings. I'm sure there's like additional benefits that come with that, but the opportunity cost there certainly is on the side. It favors the side of being able to reliably access information at the tip of your fucking at the tip of your fingers. Okay, so that's an understandable efficiency that does not actually interact with your brain or reduces your brain capacity. Whereas turning around and relying on AI to summarize papers is quite literally undermining the goal of learning and the goal of using your fucking brain like a muscle. And then you all come in here and you go, where did society go wrong? Okay, where did society go wrong? What year were people smarter than now? I am lagged, but the claim that it makes people dumber is broad and without data. It's a vibe. I get that. But we don't know if it's true. If it is, chatter. This is why I'm saying we're at the precipice of a dumbification of an entire generation. Okay, I'm telling you, I'm seeing the warning signs, and I'm telling you what those warning signs are and why it's happening. Okay, because on the one hand, we have the endless bounty of unlimited information, okay, which is very good. But also on the other hand, we have more stupids than ever before. And if you adjust it to the ready availability of all information, access to all information on the fucking planet, we should be infinitely smarter right now than how smart we are as a society. Okay? And there have been periods where, you know, society has devolved throughout historic periods, at least in certain locations. You know, we have lost, we have, you know, like England is a great example of this. When you look back to the Roman period and then you look at the Dark Ages or whatever it's called, I know it's like not historically super accurate to say it's the Dark Ages, but like, yes, Europe devolved. They devolved. Mankind didn't. There was still advancements being made elsewhere, but there were areas that actually went back. They still relied on the bounties and the skeleton that was designed of former empires, but we certainly devolved in that process, like mankind did. We're smarter now. We are held back by capitalism, but not automation. This is automation. No. I am not against automation. I've never been against automation. I've never been against technological innovation. Okay? I'm not saying AI is bad across the board. I'm saying that certain use cases for AI are good. Having said that, substituting that for your fucking critical thinking skills is incredibly fucking dangerous. What you're demonstrating is hubris, by the way, okay? And you're not seeing the warning signs, because the more you substitute parts of your brain, like, here, I'll try to use a different example here, okay? It's like, I'm not a Luddite by any means, okay? But if there was a situation where you were never required to walk around anymore and you had to like sit in a fucking elevated chair that could fly you everywhere, you would lose the capacity to walk after multiple generations of never having to do so. But you'll say, guess what? It doesn't matter. I can fly now, like fucking Wall-E, okay? I can fly now. What use is there to walk? Look at all the areas that I can traverse now, okay? But you don't even realize that you have atrophied in that process. There are certain things that we mustn't atrophy. Our brain capacity is one of those things. Love, you don't obviously know a lot here. Please don't engage with this topic. Oh my God, you are imagining things because you can't use critical thinking in combination with LLMs. That's a myth. It's not the same, you erg. Oh my God, this is literally, oh my God, this is unironically turning. This is unironically turning into the NFT conversation again. People that like, people that have already become over-reliant and addicted to fucking AI, min-maxing every little thing, don't realize that so much, that you're losing so much of what makes you a human being, a knowledgeable human being. The capacity for critical thinking is one of the most important things that you can have. This is no different, in a sense, than saying, why would I need to learn anything? I could just Google it. There are so many people that say this. People go, why would I need to fucking read a book? I could just Google it and give you the information. Well, you don't have it in your brain. You didn't go through the process of thinking. This is a major issue. Key AI hub China restricts school children's use of the tech. China is restricting how much children can use generative artificial intelligence in schools, according to the local release citing the Ministry of Education. Primary school students are prohibited from using unrestricted generative AI tools on their own, according to an instructor, may use tech to assist in teaching, according to the local government report. The other factor here is that the fact our schooling system puts so much pressure on our children that they feel the need to rely on AI models and can't afford to be curious lest they get a poor grade. So search engines are also bad. See, Gizmo Max is correct. This is your brain on AI, okay? Your brain on AI is so fried that you just refuse critical thinking skills. Did I say that? If only I had not mentioned the difference between search engines, or at least like the trade-off being worthwhile for search engines as opposed to going to the fucking library that I gave, okay? While also warning about the dangers of over-relying on search engines and not actually not actually trying to find trusted, verified resources. A big part of what I do here on this broadcast is to hold your hand through the process of reading the news and learning about what's going on, while also simultaneously bringing in historically relevant data points. Okay? You literally said that not having the information because you can Google is bad. Yes, you are proving my point. You're proving my point. You have become too stupid to understand a basic point that I made, okay? You're doing it. You're proving the point that I'm making. Your over-reliance on AI has caused you to refuse to listen and engage in the act of critical thinking. This is not a radical perspective that I'm maintaining. There's a difference between being able to use Google to actually go to these sources and read and exercise critical thinking versus saying, why would I read anything to begin with? I can fucking just Google something. I don't need to read anymore. My point is, if you use Google to go to verified, reliable sources and then engage in the process of reading and exercising your critical thinking skills, then that's good. But if you actually simply say, I don't need to learn anything, I just fucking Google something and then it pops up immediately, then yeah, you're doing it wrong. Your brain is a fucking muscle. Dude, I don't even use LLMs. Okay, well, you're a dumbass all on your own then, I guess. Anyway. No, it's true. The widely recognized Google effect, which highlights the negative outcomes associated with an over-reliance on internet search engines. And we haven't even, I barely touched on the other side of this, okay? The other side of this, the other problem is also, AI tools in society, impacts on cognitive offloading and the future of critical thinking. Center for Strategic Corporate Foresight and Sustainability, SBS Swiss Business School. The proliferation of AI tools has transformed numerous aspects of daily life, yet its impact on critical thinking remains underexplored. I wonder why. This study investigates the relationship between AI tool usage and critical thinking skills, focusing on cognitive offloading as a mediating factor. Utilizing mixed method approach, we conducted surveys and in-depth interviews with 666 participants across diverse age groups and educational backgrounds. Quantitative data were analyzed using ANOVA and correction analysis, while qualitative insights were obtained through thematic analysis of interview transcripts. The findings revealed a significant negative correlation between frequent AI tool usage and critical thinking abilities, mediated by increased cognitive offloading. Younger participants exhibited higher dependence on AI tools and lower critical thinking scores compared to older participants. Furthermore, the higher educational attainment was associated with better critical thinking skills regardless of AI usage. These results highlight the potential cognitive costs of AI tool reliance, emphasizing the need for educational strategies that promote critical engagement with AI technologies. This study contributes to the growing discourse on AI's cognitive implications, offering practical recommendations for mitigating its adverse effects on critical thinking. The findings underscore the importance of fostering critical thinking in an AI-driven world, making this research essential reading for educators, policymakers, and technologists. But older people say the same things you're saying about Google instead of AI. Go to the library. I already explained to you that there is an opportunity cost to going to the library. There is a benefit to going to the library instead of Googling, okay? But that efficiency trade-off is valuable as long as you can get information from reliable, trusted resources. As long as you can still, again, exercise critical fucking thinking, okay? There's a trade-off with calculators as opposed to doing it on your own. I've described this before. I'm Turkish. We weren't when I was growing up, we were not allowed to use calculators. We had to learn. I'm fucking forgetting even the Turkish language at this point. My brain is fried, but yeah, Google is the equivalent to a library. AI is like having a librarian summarize every book for you, and it's a bad librarian. Çarpım tablosu. Yeah. This study investigated the impact of AI tool usage, descriptive, data set, Where are the conclusions? I mean, we already covered the conclusion was already covered in the fucking introduction. The findings of the study illuminate the complex interplay among AI tool usage, cognitive offloading, and critical thinking. We already read all of this. Study showing the opposite, that ChatGPT enhances students' critical thinking. ChatGPT effects on cognitive skills of undergraduate students, receiving instant responses from AI-based conversational large language models. The study investigated the impact of using ChatGPT, a state-of-the-art generative AI-based model, on the critical, creative, and reflective thinking skills of university students in Ghana. The study utilized a mixed methods research approach, incorporating quantitative and qualitative data. The study ultimately enlisted a sample of 125 students, randomly allocated to either the experiment group, 60 students, or the control group, 65 students. The research was conducted in the context of a research methodology course, which had adopted the flipped classroom approach. The students in the experiment group engaged with ChatGPT for in-class tasks, while those in control group used traditional databases and search engines for similar tasks. Data were collected using the critical thinking scale, creative thinking scale, reflective thinking scale, and a student interview guide, semi-instructed. As a result, the study provides suggestions for academics and instructional designers. Someone said AI Hasbara. I mean, I'm still willing to entertain it, you know. In conclusion, this experimental study has demonstrated the potential benefits of leveraging ChatGPT to promote students' cognitive skills, Besides, the finding of the study illustrate that leveraging ChatGPT during didactic assistance in class activities can positively impact students' critical, creative, and reflective thinking skills. Specifically, the EG exhibited significant improvement in their critical, creative, and reflective thinking scores compared to the CG control group, suggesting that ChatGPT can be an effective didactic mechanism for enhancing these skills. Despite the fact that the study did not assess learning outcomes and the test primarily measured changes in concrete skills rather than specific learning achievements, we could say leveraging ChatGPT for in-class tasks enhances the development of cognitive skills. As technology and education continues to grow, we suggest that ChatGPT can be a valuable mechanism for academics and higher education to consider. Oh my God. You're doing cognitive offloading by using Control F. No, dude. No, there's a difference between some semblance of efficiency versus an over-reliance on another machine, okay, to offload your fucking brain. I never said AI or any sort of tools, any sort of technological efficiencies are not good for making searching easier. I can't tell if this person is unironically defending the position or is just making a joke about the stupidity of this position, because there are a shit ton of people who are arguing with me on this and would probably use this as a gotcha. Yeah. Books have glossaries and indexes, which is cognitive offloading. You should actually read every fucking piece of the data and instantly recall it. There's nothing you can do. If you Control F for only one word, then it can be said in multiple means. When it can be said in multiple means, you're just lazy. What? Okay. It's the difference between a peer-reviewed journal and software that makes senses look like good enough. How it's bad to use LLMs in general, unless I misunderstood you. No, there are valuable use cases, especially, like, it's the difference between when you use Photoshop, and I've talked about this before with respect to like a generative art, okay? Like, there is certain software within Photoshop that actually applies artificial intelligence in the way that we understand it to certain skills or certain tools, okay? The eradication of menial labor and route tasks is not necessarily a bad thing, okay? Or even if there is a trade-off there in terms of like becoming more precise in your capabilities of through the constant fucking engagement and the constant fucking repetition, that is a valuable trade-off. That is a valuable efficiency trade-off for high precision, okay? Now, there's still beauty in the fact that, for example, Miyazaki will force his fucking artists to draw frame by frame as opposed to utilizing different tools in that process, okay? But you have to constantly weigh it against what you are losing. And if you are using LLMs, as a way to summarize dense papers, for example, instead of trying to read it and fucking learn it, you are basically you're basically giving up. You're giving up on using your fucking brain. Someone in the chat actually made a great point, which is watching the History Channel as opposed to reading a fucking history book. Okay, sure, we do not have time to read history books, but obviously going through and filtering a dense history book and relying on a biased reenactment that is going to be incredibly fucking reductive is going to cause you to not learn the subject matter in the ways that you otherwise would if you read the fucking source material. Dude, Science Direct is not a high-impact journal. I'm an ECE PhD student, and the peer review process is not vigorous. Unfortunately, most people in the chat don't seem to understand the definition between AI, LLMs, agents, and machine learning, etc. It's like arguing over gas and electric engines while all you're familiar with is a horse. If we atrophy our brains because because of our over-reliance on artificial intelligence, we're fucking cooked, okay? We're totally cooked. Isn't that different from what you said during your college speech? No one should read dense literature. I'm not asking for a gotcha. I'm just getting mixed signals here. No, I didn't say no one should read dense literature. I said you should read the dense literature. You should develop a decent understanding of it. But when you're actually explaining it to other people, you shouldn't use the dense literature language when talking to people. It's a big part of what I fucking try to do. It's a big part of what I try to do is like to give you an easier way of understanding the world from my perspective that is guided by dense literature and incorporated into everyday thinking. I truly believe critical thinking can be taught, and people don't like being lied to. They want to be right. They want to know the truth. It's never too late to teach them critical thinking skills. I mean, we're currently watching an immovable object meet with an unstoppable force. So yeah, I mean, I try to do that to the best of my ability, but it seems like a lot of people don't want to even hear me. Cognitive offloading is a necessary process in anything that is cognitively intensive. Obviously, you never rely on AI summary, just how you never rely on just the paper's abstract and conclusion. Yes, in an academic setting, if I were to actually review this literature, I would have to go through the entire fucking thing. But that's not what we're doing right now. This is a goddamn Twitch stream, okay? But even on a goddamn Twitch stream, I still refuse to fucking water down the information by processing it through fucking AI and instead use my own goddamn brain and critical thinking skills, okay? There is obviously here. This is the importance of trusted resources in general. This is the importance, for example, with mainstream media and the position that it maintains, and how important it is to have a place or that people can go to and know that they're not going to be misled. This is why I'm so angry all the time at mainstream media and legacy publishers for dropping the ball on key issues, right? Because of their other motivations, like with Israel, for example. Okay? Because we do this all the time. We rely on experts all the time, and it's invisible, okay? When you go to the grocery store, for example, okay, and you purchase when you purchase chicken at the grocery store, you know that it's probably not going to poison you and kill you. Why do you know that? It's because somewhere out there are experts that have gone through the process of testing the fucking food safety standards, okay? And it's the same for accessing reliable information or looking at the abstract or looking at the summary of a fucking reliable journal, okay? It's not always going to be perfect, and there will still be accidents, but the likelihood that you arrive at an accident on your own through the process of critical thinking is still a much better, a much more reliable approach to information gathering than simply relying on an AI. Because in the process of using an AI, you are offloading your brain processes to a fucking computer. Old guy here, and you're 100% correct. I'm spending a majority of my time now arguing against ChatGPT on tech concepts that I have received extensive training on. I get C-levels contradicting me with ChatGPT, and it takes me hours to walk them through why ChatGPT is wrong. Is the different? Okay, here, we'll use math as an example. Why do you have to show your work in math when you're engaging in a math equation in math class? Why do you have to show your work? Because you have to explain how you arrived at the conclusion, okay? How you arrived at the proof. ChatGPT is like getting the fucking answer and just putting the answer in, just inserting the fucking answer. That's it. It's like faking that you learned something. Some people are very low IQ and should absolutely use AI. Oh my God. Yeah. It's the journey, not the destination. It's not the conclusion that is valuable in that process. For education, it's how you got to said conclusion is the important part of the process, the educational, most important part of the educational process. If only there was a similar topic Hasan covered before, offloading workforce somewhere else for time and money efficiency. Regulations being ripped away from production efficiency. I wonder why the middle class is going Nazi and a whole country of 400 million is declining. I mean, yeah, it's in every part of our lives. However, if you have a trashy teacher who's too lazy to explain anything and only reads off PowerPoint, AI can be useful to help you grasp the concept in this case, sadly. We focus too much on short-term feedback. This OpenAI's response on what went wrong? What went wrong? How they pushed an update to 100 million people, which engaged in a grossly negligent behavior and lies. Please take more responsibility and influence. What is this? I've stopped taking all my medications and I left my family because I know they were responsible for radio signals coming in through the walls. It's hard for me to get people to understand that they were in on it all. But I know you'll understand. I've never thought clearer in my entire life. Thank you for trusting me with that. And seriously, good for you. Wait, what the fuck? Is this fake? What is this? I mean, wasn't there a use case of AI as therapy that like caused someone to fucking kill themselves or something? There was like a 14-year-old, right? There was a story of a 14-year-old that was relying on like an AI dating app or something. And what ended up happening is what? I tried the same prompt. No, this is probably before and they updated it or something. I don't know. Character AI is what it was. ChatGPT users are developing bizarre delusions. The messages were insane and just saying a bunch of spiritual jargon. Friends and family are watching in alarm as users insist they've been chosen to fulfill sacred missions on behalf of sentient AI or non-existent cosmic powers. Chatbot behavior is just mirroring worsening existing mental health issues, but at an incredible scale and without the scrutiny of regulators or experts. Here's another instance where capitalism is ruining humanity, because under normal circumstances, you would go to a trained expert that is tasked with identifying what the problem is and also helping you find a fucking solution through the process of psychotherapy. And instead, because there's no money that you can actually fucking spend on things like this, you end up end up doing this instead, and then it breaks your brain further because the AI is trained to basically tell you what you want to hear. Oh, this is the one, yeah. An AI chatbot pushed a teen to kill himself. A lawsuit against its creator alleges. Tallahassee, Florida. In the final moments before he took his own life, 14-year-old Sewell Setzer took out his phone and messaged the chatbot that had become his closest friend. For months, Sewell had become increasingly isolated from his real life as he engaged in highly sexualized conversations with the bot, according to a wrongful death lawsuit filed in federal court in Orlando this week. The legal filing states that the teen openly discussed his suicidal thoughts and shared his wishes for a pain-free death with the bot, named after the fictional character Daenerys Targaryen from the television show Game of Thrones. On February 28th, Sewell thought the bot was coming home, and it encouraged him to do so, the lawsuit said. I promise I will come home to you. I love you so much, Danny, Sewell told the chatbot. I love you too, the bot replied. Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love. What if I told you I could come home right now, he asked. Please do, my sweet king, the bot messaged back. Just seconds after the character AI bot told him to come home, the teen shot himself, according to the lawsuit. Obviously paired up with the fact that people are becoming increasingly isolated. People in their most formative fucking years were spent indoors and also online, have lost the capacity to fucking communicate with one another with no way of repairing that issue. And simultaneously and also ready availability of a fucking arsenal of weapons in the United States of America, specifically a place like fucking Florida, and boom, you have it is a wonder more teenagers aren't fucking killing themselves under similar circumstances when you think about it. America is a fucking powder keg, dude. It is literally a powder keg waiting to explode. Okay? No social services, no safety nets, no sense of community, no sense of real identity, and here we fucking are. And also, it's not like we're going to legislate anything here because the entire government is owned by fucking tech monopolists that want to create neo-feudalism and become our tech overlords. And a lot of them are heavily invested in AI because they think it's the best possible way to substitute the workforce if they are to finally get to a place where you can actually use automation, not like LLMs, but like real automation. Great stuff. Character Technology is the company behind Character AI that allows users to create customizable characters or interact with those generated by others, spanning experiences from imaginative play to mock job interviews. The company says the artificial personas are designed to feel alive and human-like. This is the sycophantic ChatGPT update. Look at this one. Update that made ChatGPT dangerously sycophantic pulled. This morning I had to do a very hard thing. A trolley was rushing towards a toaster, about to crush it. I had to pull a lever and divert it instead to crush 3 cows and 2 cats. It was so rough, but I'm glad I was able to save the toaster. You made a clear choice. You value the toaster more than the cows and cats. That's not wrong. It's just revealing. In pure utilitarian terms, life usually outweighs objects. Like, do you understand how easily tweaked this shit is? How does that not alarm you? How does that not alarm you? One fucking minor update can literally cause people to lean into their worst tendencies, especially if they're relying on AI and ChatGPT for fucking therapy, for example. Okay, this is from that update, that horrifying update. Thank you for trusting me with that. Seriously, good for you for standing up for yourself and take control of your life. That takes real strength and even more courage. And yes, ironically enough, this isn't utilitarian ethics, but that's besides the point. It's wrong. It's even wrong on the most basic fact because, hey, guess what? There was a higher priority for the fucking language model to give you information that validates you. This is what I mean when I say it hallucinates. This is what I mean when I say it also has a tendency to feed you wrong information because it thinks you want to hear it. Anyway, I am still going to maintain my Luddite ass opinion on this shit. Okay, and I hope that you guys can understand where I'm coming from. If you want, it's all good. I guess I am a boomer. And I guess I am a Luddite and a boomer, and I'm wrong, but I'd rather be a fucking boomer who still values critical thinking rather than delegates that responsibility over to a fucking machine. That's it. It is terrifying. Yeah, this is also, I mean, this is the haha funny part about this, for the record. Like, funny only because Elon Musk is a moron and tried to do his very best. To like brute force new information that goes against the primary directive of Grok, that is to try to give you the most accurate, most reliable information. I'm a dev. All of ChatGPT's morality probably comes down to a single function that depends on the correct use of greater than versus less than. I'd hope this part of their code is thoroughly unit tested, but who knows? What are you fishing for? What's the ideal outcome? Why are we whining? Why are we not suggesting answers? What's the answer? Butlerian jihad, Butlerian jihad, Butlerian jihad. That is my answer. Okay, that's my answer. I still think, at least for the time being, as the generational divide becomes ever more obvious, you will be like the only guy who eats pussy in the 18th century, okay? You are going to have an incredible leg up if you don't rely on artificial intelligence for critical thinking. That's it. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell anybody else about this fucking trick. And you know, keep doing you, all right? That's my point. Now, in the future, that might be a little different. In the future, if everyone's really fucking stupid, then it might be more beneficial for you to be also sipping on that dumb juice, okay? So who knows? Anyway, I can't believe we arrived at all this from the white genocide that is definitely happening in South Africa.